Alright people, the topic for today is things only Season 0 players remember. Apex Legends was launched very low-key on February 4th of 2019, and then about a month and a half later on March 19th, Season 1 of Apex Legends was launched. The period that started on February 4th of 2019 and went for about a month and a half is a very interesting time in Apex Legends, when things were first just being balanced and changed, and also some of the game's biggest glitches were still being worked out. This video should bring back some pretty interesting memories of you Season 0 players, and for those of you who are not original players of this game, you will see what Apex Legends was originally like and how really just interesting it was. Anyways, I'm Alarmix, and let's get into the video. I'm gonna start off by talking about the Wingman during Season 0. For those of you out there who think the Wingman is really good right now, it was just about twice as good during Season 0. So people have started off during this time period, the Wingman, a purple clip on this gun, allowed it to have 12 bullets in the clip at once. So people, back in the day, you could have had a white mag on the Wingman and you would have had 8 bullets inside of that mag. Now today you need a purple mag to achieve 8 bullets in the mag of a Wingman at once. So along with having all of these bullets in the mag at once, up to 12 max, the Wingman actually had a faster fire rate. Back in the day you could have shot 3.3 bullets out of the Wingman every second. Also along with this, back in the day, the hip fire on the Wingman was actually a lot more accurate. The overall hit fire box was a lot smaller in the first place, but also when you used to shoot the Wingman from the hip fire, you know when you hip fire, the box actually blows up a little bit, it gets a lot bigger. It used to be to where the hip fire box, it would reset down to that smaller minimal size a lot faster. So the Wingman, it used to be very viable at hip firing, at least a lot more than now. So people, to put the icing on the cake, most of you will know that you used to be able to put the skull piercer attachment on the Wingman. Now in Season 0, that is the time and place where the skull piercer in fact was the strongest, because after Season 0 right away, they nerfed the skull piercer. So when the game first started out, the skull piercer on the Wingman had a 2.5 headshot damage multiplier. So people, depending on what helmet people had on, saying they had no helmet on, the Wingman with a skull piercer, if you would have got a headshot, you could have done up to 112.5 damage, which people, it was completely insane. It was very overpowered. So you had up to 12 bullets in the mag, you had better hip fire accuracy, you had a faster rate of fire, and also you had a 2.5 times damage headshot multiplier. It was very shortly after the Season 1 update where they actually nerfed the Wingman, and I think the reason that it was so powerful in the game for so long is because the Wingman, it has a very high skill cap, and you know, because people are just starting out at Apex Legends, they didn't actually have that much skill, obviously, but the people who are already good at other FPSs, you know, the people like Shroud who can just pick up a game like nothing, people like them, they absolutely dominated Apex, and I mean, there was really not much stopping them. They absolutely just cleared the competition. And speaking of clearing the competition, this will lead us into our next item on the list. There were hella noobs in Season 0. That's right, your boy Alarmix just said a naughty word, but that is one of the best ways to describe how many noobs there were in Season 0. Sorry, I keep repeating that word over Season 0, but people, I'm gonna put up some of my original gameplay of this game, and this gameplay that I'm showing you, it actually occurred right after the Season 1 update, so it is not actually the original season, Season 0, but I mean, in general, at least on PS4, especially for me, that's where I started out with Apex Legends, was on PS4. People were bad at this game, and the maps were thick of people who were just completely horrendous at the game. I think that's one of the main reasons Apex Legends got me hooked, and why a lot of us players, a lot of us original players love King's Canyon so much, is because it was just so much fun getting like 15 kill games, like, and not even try in the process to get that. Like people, I hope it doesn't sound like I'm bragging right now, but I think one of the main reasons that there were so many noobs and just so many bad players at that time, aside from the fact that people were just learning how to play the game, was the fact that skill-based matchmaking, it didn't affect you near as much as it does today. So apparently, EA has officially told us that skill-based matchmaking, it has always been in this game, but we do know that right around the Season 2, Season 3 mark, it did seem like right then, and I remember this time specifically for myself, the game all of a sudden just got way harder. But back in the day, you did have the chance to be matched against people who were literally just learning how to play with the controller, like people who are playing their first shooter. So yes, I think easily one of the most distinct things about Season 0 was just the fact that it was super easy, people were bad at the game, and there was very limited, if not no, skill-based matchmaking at all. Now the next thing that really the only original player base of Apex Legends will remember is just how completely unusable and how terrible Caustic was. Now Caustic, he did get buffed the patch after the Season 1 update, so there are some like beginning of season 1 players that will remember how terrible Caustic was, but really the two original terrible legends of this game are Gibby and Caustic. I think that during season 0, Caustic may have been even a little bit worse than Gibraltar. That's just my opinion. Maybe let me know what you think in the comments below, but I do think that in season 0, Caustic was just about the worst legend, and there are quite a few reasons for that. So first of all, the high profile legends, you know, them bigger boys, now in the game they actually take reduced damage, but when Apex Legends was first released, this was definitely not the case. The big boy Caustic used to take the same exact amount of damage that the low profile legends of Lifeline and Wraith took, and along with this, Pathfinder, Caustic, and Gibraltar, they all used to have bigger hitboxes. At the season 1 update, they actually reduced the size of those 3 legends hitboxes. So people, in season 0, it was pretty hard not to kill a Caustic when you're going up against him. He was super easy to hit. Also, Caustic's ultimate ability, you couldn't throw it near as far as you could today. The very first patch after the season 1 update, they buffed the throw distance on Caustic's ultimate from 28 meters to 33 meters, and that is what it remains to be today. And people, also, Caustic's gas, back in the day, it only did 1 tick of damage, which is practically nothing. Back in the day, in my opinion, Caustic's gas didn't really even do any damage at all. At least you didn't have to worry about it. You really only had to worry about Caustic gas for the 2 reasons that, first of all, Caustic could see you through the gas when you're taking damage, and second of all, it kind of stunned you, you know, just as it does today. I mean, the damage, you could literally just walk through a Caustic trap and you wouldn't take much damage at all. Back in the day when you had a teammate who chose Caustic, it was pretty safe to say that they were a bad player. Like in the character selection menu, you'd be sitting there with your friend and then your third guy would choose Caustic and you're like, oh, well, he's bad. In today's Apex Legends, in my opinion, I think that each legend does have its time and place. They are all viable in their very own situations, maybe except for the legend Mirage, who was just announced by EA that he's in fact getting a buff in the near future. But yeah, people, I think Gibby is viewed as the original bad legend in the game. I think the only reason for that is because Caustic was a lot sooner on the board to get his buff versus Gibby. Quickly, I think something that was a lot different in season 0 versus today was the actual icons that the legends had in the legend selection screen. So quickly, I'm gonna throw up a picture of the legend select screen from today and then one from way back in the day. Just about every one of these legends on the list, I think all of them do have a different logo if you look closely. So I think on this list, most notably, the 2 legends we were just talking about, Gibby and Caustic, I think both of their logos now look way better. But a legend on this list that was mechanically a little bit different when this game was first released versus today was actually Pathfinder. So to go along with his character selection logo being different, in-game his grapple logo is different, his actual tactical ability logo is different, and then also Pathfinder back in the day, he couldn't actually grapple onto zip lines. Like just recently I had Pathfinder, I kind of changed him to my secondary character. I think that was a few months back where I just realized like, what the heck, I can grapple onto zip lines. And also something else that I noticed, and in fact this was only happening in season 0, when you used Pathfinder's grapple, you didn't have that little range indicator that you do have today. So you know what I'm talking about, that little dot in the middle of the screen when you have the grapple ready. When it turns blue, you can in fact grapple onto something, whatever you are pointing your cursor at. Back in the day, you actually had that not at all, which made it a little bit tricky at times to actually tell if you were in range of that certain thing that you're trying to grapple to. Along with that, like I mentioned before, Pathfinder's hitbox, it was actually a lot bigger. So with the very first patch after season 1, Pathfinder's hitbox was reduced by quite a bit. In my opinion, Pathfinder is really the legend of today, but back when this game first came out, that was definitely not the case. Apex Legends being released on February 4th of 2019, something that only the original player base of this game will remember is on February 20th, the Havoc was added to the game. I remember the day that the Havoc was added, I didn't even look at the patch notes for that day. I just hopped into a game, and one of the first guns I saw on the floor was this Havoc, and I had no clue it was in the game. At this point, you could have added the turbocharger onto the Havoc, and when the Havoc first came out, it was not near as powerful in that meta as it is today. The Havoc today, most people regard it as one of the better guns in the game, but back in the day when the Havoc was first released, especially without a turbocharger, it was not regarded as one of the best guns in the game. Something else that only the original player base of this game will remember is the 2019 Valentine's event. Something you could have got during the 2019 Valentine's event is the Live Die Live badge. All you had to do during this time was either revive revive a squad mate or respawn a squad mate. So people, if you have the live die live badge in your inventory, you should check if you were in fact an original player of this game, because that badge, I mean, it's really just the symbol of originality in Apex Legends. So people, if you consider yourself an original player of this game, leave a comment below of something that was really different back then, because it's always really good to get feelings of nostalgia. And people, if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, because I do a bunch of different interesting Apex Legends videos just like this. And that will be about it for me, the Alarmix, and I'll see you guys later.